everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today we're here to talk about Vanilla Sky and its brand new 4K Blu-ray that just came out from Paramount. But before we dive into that, if you are a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, movie reviews, lists, and podcasts, we try to do them all here on the channel, and nothing helps the channel out more than by you just simply liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So Vanilla Sky was released in 2001. It is directed and written by Cameron Crowe. It's based on the 1997 film Abra los Ojos, and that one was directed by Alejandro Amenbar. And this one was actually produced by Cameron Crowe, Tom Cruise, and Paula Wagner. Actually, Paula Wagner and Tom Cruise are the same people who produced the Mission Impossible films. Tom Cruise actually loved the original film. He presented this film to Cameron Crowe. He felt like he would be a great director for it, and Cameron Crowe wanted to work with Tom Cruise again. The only thing was, Cameron Crowe just got done making Almost Famous, and it would have been a very quick turnaround, but he decided, you know what, he's going to get the same team together that made Almost Famous. He's going to get the cinematographer John Toll back. He's going to bring back Nancy Wilson from Heart to do the score again. Even some players from Almost Famous like Jason Lee and Noah Taylor, bring them in for some small roles in this. Just basically people that Cameron Crowe was used to working with. He said, we can make this movie, and that's exactly what they decided to do. And this film was kind of a departure from most Cameron Crowe movies. It's very different actually from Almost Famous and Jerry Maguire, but it's also got heart in there, but it's also a sci-fi thriller, suspense, romance. It's really a genre-bending film, and it's one of Tom Cruise's most unique films that he's ever appeared in. It basically tells the story of Tom Cruise. He was this rich kid, inherited his father's business. He owns 51% stake, and he has to compete with the board, who he calls the Seven Dwarfs, who run the other 49% of this business. They don't see him as a serious person. They still see him as this little kid, this little rich kid, but he really does care. He's got a heart to him. You know, he's searching for love in this world as well. Very early in the movie, we see that he has what he believes is just a friendly relationship that involves sex with Cameron Diaz's character, but we find out very fast that Cameron Diaz takes this relationship much more serious than Tom Cruise does.
David, I love you.
To the point where it drives her to suicide that leaves Tom Cruise's face very deformed, and this weighs on him heavily throughout the rest of this movie. But the movie itself starts to bend and twist and become a little bit incoherent to the point where you're wondering what's going on. In the first third of this movie, you know, it's very similar to the movie Lost Highway by David Lynch, where it seems to be bouncing between dream and reality, and you're not exactly too sure what's going on. But as the movie progresses, you start to understand a little bit more and more until we get to the third act, where they pretty much explain everything. I do think that that's the actual thing that we're supposed to believe is the end of this movie, because we're seeing this from Tom Cruise's character's perspective, but he's not the most trustworthy protagonist. You know, we don't really know exactly what he believes to be reality, what he wants to perceive is reality, because we're bouncing between scenes where his face looks deformed or other scenes where his face doesn't look deformed. So we're really trying to wonder what exactly is going on. And until we get to the very end, we're still kind of in the dark about exactly what is happening throughout this entire movie. You know, there's some great scenes in here between him and Penelope Cruz. Penelope Cruz was actually in the original portraying the same character, and she does a phenomenal job in this movie as well. I mean, everybody does a great job acting. As from an acting standpoint, this actually might be Cameron Diaz's best role. You know, she actually took a break from Gangs of New York to come and do this movie for a few weeks, which is incredible because I always have found that her performance in Gangs of New York is one of her worst of her career, and it might just be because she was miscast in Gangs of New York, but she's just perfectly cast in here. This is one of her best acting performances, and of course, you know, she's magnetic, she's beautiful, and you know, even in the small role she has in this, she steals those scenes. Penelope Cruz is another one. Every time she's on the screen, she does a phenomenal job. Jason Lee really has a great relationship with Cameron Crowe, because I think that Jason Lee's best performance is in Almost Famous, and he turns out another great performance in this. This is a very small role, though. It's nothing very big. He's not asked to do too much, but with the scenes he is asked to do, he does a great job in those scenes as well. And another person who always steals any small role like this that she plays, because she plays a similar role to this in a lot of movies. That's very small, you know, a couple days of shooting, but she comes in, steals her scenes as well, and that's Tilda Swinton.
It's cancer, so much more will be a thing of the past.
I mean, her line delivery has always just been so impressive with me, and there's just something about her that just draws you to her, the way she delivers lines. And in this movie, again, she's just commanding the screen, and they're all acting against Tom Cruise, and Tom Cruise is doing a phenomenal job in this movie as well. I didn't even mention Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell has a small role in this movie as well, so it's just a stacked cast across the board. But yeah, Tom Cruise does steal the show in this movie. You know, this is an action Tom Cruise, although he did insist in the opening Times Square scene, which they really shot in Times Square, by the way. They shot it early on a Sunday morning. You know, they had like 2 hours to shoot. You know, he insisted on, when they had some extra time, to do some running scenes because Tom Cruise just loves to run in all of his movies. He also loves to dance in all of his movies, and he dances a lot in this movie, my God. But he does it so well, and, you know, a lot of this movie he spent actually wearing this mask that will definitely make you feel uncomfortable when you're watching him wear it, and there's a reason for that. You know, he's very worried about how people perceive him, or he just has a hard time looking at himself in the mirror, because this movie is dealing with a lot of deep subject matter, such as existentialism, destiny, dreams, lucid dreams, all of these things that have a deep meaning to them, and they're told throughout this entire story very well, in my opinion. You know, it's also dealing with romance and how one night of love could just be the most meaningful thing in your life, that you have a hard time accepting that that moment will never come back, that that's the moment that you want to relive for the rest of your life, or have the life that you always imagined you would have, but that's not how the world works. They're dealing with all of these subjects in this movie so well. I'm very surprised it didn't really get the best critical reaction when it came out, and I think it's just because it's not a very straightforward story. You actually have to do a lot of legwork to understand the movie. As far as like the ending goes, you know, it might not be the most satisfying ending for everybody, because it might be hitting the nail on the head. I still think that the ending is very much open to interpretation. I think it's something that, you know, everybody might walk away from this movie with a different feeling of what the film was about. But I always think that those lead to the best kind of movies. You know, this is a movie where you want to watch over and over again to fully understand and grasp what is going on. I think that this is one of the best movies at doing that. It's a very underrated film from both Tom Cruise and Cameron Crowe. One that I don't think has been lost to the test of time, but a lot of people seem to like forget about it when they're talking about Tom Cruise films. And I'm not too sure why. I guess because many people nowadays just know him for the Mission Impossible franchise, Edge of Tomorrow, and all of his other big action movies like Top Gun. But people always seem to forget that Tom Cruise, when he wants to, is a phenomenal actor, and he does a great job in this movie. So if you haven't seen Vanilla Sky, I could definitely highly recommend you definitely check this out, even if you don't decide to grab this 4K Blu-ray from Paramount that we're about to talk about right now.
Say everything now.
I'll tell you in another life when we are both cats.
So this is actually the second release from Paramount this week, because they also released The Firm on the very same day. So I was expecting the exact same thing as The Firm. The Firm only came with one 4K Blu-ray disc. It had no extras on it, nothing, and it was the price of $21.95. This is also $21.95. It looks like it has the exact same type of slipcover. So you get the slipcover right here. It's really, really nice. I really like this artwork. You know, you get the same thing underneath, so it's nothing special there. It's the same exact thing. I like it when they have different artwork on the actual 4K than they do on the slipcover to make it feel special, but I understand. It's not a big deal. I'm very happy we got the slipcover. You pop it open, and would you look at that, there's a Blu-ray disc in there, and not just any Blu-ray disc. That is the Paramount Presents Blu-ray disc that came out in 2021. And that Paramount Presents, if you buy Vanilla Sky right now, just in the Paramount Presents line, it's also $21. So it's the exact same price as this 4K. So if you're going to be spending the money and you want to get Vanilla Sky, there's no point now in not getting this 4K, because that Paramount Presents Blu-ray is packed in here. And now this is what's strange to me. So earlier this week, I was complaining in the Firm review about how there was absolutely no extras. They didn't do the pack-in Blu-ray, and they were charging $21.95 for that, where I felt like it should have been in the $10 to $15 range, because you didn't get a new audio track. It was just a visual upgrade, and that was it, so it didn't feel worth it. Now, when it comes to Vanilla Sky, not only did they pack in the Blu-ray, the Paramount Presents Blu-ray, which is a relatively new scan, and I believe that is the scan that's on this 4K as well. I think they just slapped HDR and or Dolby Vision on it, depending on your system, over the actual Paramount Presents Blu-ray, because they were very similar looking, in my opinion. The only real big difference, besides, you know, it's a little bit brighter, is that I feel like they played with the color temperature a little bit on the 4K, where it felt a little bit more warmer. Scenes felt a little bit more yellower in compared to the Paramount Presents Blu-ray, where they felt a little bit cooler. Now, it's a beautifully shot film, so you can't go wrong either way with the Blu-ray or the 4K, just because when they were shooting this movie, it just is one of the better looking movies from the early 2000s, because the cinematographer has a great eye, and they did some great things with the camera, you know, where scenes feel dreamy intentionally, and I really do appreciate that, and you get that in both that Paramount Presents Blu-ray and on the 4K disc. So they are very close as far as visuals go. It's not the biggest upgrade from Blu-ray to 4K. So if you have that Paramount Presents Blu-ray, I can't recommend you get that 4K, because it's not the biggest jump, unless again you don't have this already like I didn't have it. So it's definitely worth it for you to get this 4K, just on the sense that you'll have your choice of which version you choose to watch, because I think that's what it's going to come down to most, is personal preference. Do you prefer the cooler looking Blu-ray, or would you prefer the 4K with the higher resolution, a little bit brighter, but it's a much warmer looking film than maybe you remember? So it's really going to come down to you on that sense. The audio track is exactly the same. It's a DTS HD 5.1, and you get extras on this because that Paramount Presents Blu-ray is loaded with extras, including a great interview with Cameron Crowe, which I just watched the Almost Famous 4K, so you could tell that they actually took the interviews for this and for Almost Famous at the exact same time, because he's sitting on the exact same bench. But that's cool because Cameron Crowe gives a great interview. You can see why he was a great writer, because he just is fascinating himself. He's got so much to say. He tells a story really well, so it's always fun to watch him do interviews, and you get plenty of more extras on here. You get a gag reel, deleted scenes, and alternate ending, which I've never been a big fan of alternate endings, only because I feel like the ending that they put on the movie is the one that we're supposed to see, and it's cut for a reason. Same thing with deleted scenes. I'm not one of those people that likes to go in and watch them, but if you are, you get them all on here. You get a gag reel, you get trailers, so it's loaded with extras. And this is what fascinates me about Paramount. So just on the same exact day, for the same exact price, you release 2 4K Blu-rays, both Tom Cruise 4K Blu-rays. You would assume that the packaging and everything would be exactly the same. The presentation would be exactly the same. So it's just strange that they would do the pack-in Blu-ray with this, and my best guess is that they just had extra Paramount Presents Blu-rays lying around, and they decided to pack it in almost as like a gift in a sense. But it's just weird you would charge the exact same price for this when you get so much more in the Vanilla Sky packaging than you do in the firm package. It's just weird, and Paramount is just one of those companies that just does a lot of weird things like this. Like I've said in the past, they have released some of the best looking 4Ks you have ever seen in Top Gun Maverick, and then they have released some of the worst looking 4Ks you've ever seen in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So they're just all over the place, and it's not like their Paramount Presents line hasn't had 4K releases. Look at Double Jeopardy. So why wasn't this a Paramount Presents 4K release? Not that I'm complaining, because that would have definitely been more money, but it's just strange in that sense that they didn't use that line for this, and they're charging the same exact price as the firm, because now it really doesn't justify to me the price of the firm. It's really just proving my point in the sense that the firm really probably should be $15 or less, because you are getting so much more in this Vanilla Sky 4K release than you are in the firm 4K release, and they're the exact same price. It's just weird that they would do something like that, and it's just another illustration of how Paramount is with their 4K releases. They're just kind of all over the place, and I'm just still trying to understand exactly what their mindset is with these releases.
I'm just trying to understand here.
But, you know, I'm not really complaining. I'm really happy with this release. I thought visually, as always, this movie is pretty damn stunning. It's a good 4K. It's not the greatest 4K I've ever seen. You get HDR10, you get Dolby Vision, you know, you get the same audio track, so you don't expect anything different, but it's a solid audio track at that. You know, I definitely have no complaints about it. It made good use of my speakers. It's a really solid DTS HD 5.1. I'm very happy with the extras. So what would I give this on a score of 1 to 10? I'm going to really honestly give this a really solid 8 out of 10. I'm very happy with this release. It's not the greatest release, like I've said, but it is definitely a solid release. And if you don't own Vanilla Sky on 4K yet, this is definitely something you're going to want to pick up. Even at the full price of $21.95, I can recommend it. And if you haven't seen Vanilla Sky, even if you don't choose to grab this 4K, I really think you should check it out. And if you don't really like it the first time, give it another try, because I think it's a movie that definitely warrants multiple viewings to fully understand and fully appreciate. And I can definitely recommend it from that standpoint. And anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here with me on another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you enjoyed this review. And if you did, nothing would help this channel out more than by you just simply liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and then maybe going to Times Square yourself and telling all your friends about us. We'll be seeing you around.